but she isn't buying any of it. She's just exhausted trying to talk sense into them. But the only thing that she does think they have a point speaking for is the fact that they have, even if somewhat unwillingly, supported us a little bit financially in our early days when I was working on my business and she was taking care of all the expenses. However, I don't feel like acknowledging that because it was clearly only because they did not want to say no to their daughter. It had nothing to do with me, and if my wife had allowed me to, I would have used my savings to contribute during that time and we wouldn't have had to rely on them at all. Besides, they had always made sure that I never felt accepted into the family and treated me like I was with my wife only for the money, so it's not like I did not have to face the consequences of that. So I defer refusing to be thankful to my in-laws for having supported my wife and I when I was just starting out with my company. Edit. I don't actually have an issue with dissolving the prenup, I just had an issue with the timing of it all because recently, my wife and I just made some big purchases for the both of us, but they are under my name. It's not a big deal for her and neither is it for me because I know that we love each other. We're going to make it work, no matter how much we fight. In fact, we are not even fighting right now, just your opinion that she has placed and I'm considering it. I'm not even outright rejecting it. Divorce is definitely not on the table for us, but I guess my in-laws have been doing some thinking of their own and that is why they made the situation at this time. It's just the timing that got to me because even now, they haven't stopped suspecting me and they think that they care about my wife and always had their daughter's best interests at heart but I don't, which is why they always have to put me down. It's very obvious that even now, they really haven't accepted me as part of the family and that's what I have an issue with. As for how much they supported us financially in the beginning, I haven't repaid them, but if they ask for it, then I have no qualms about paying it all back to them. The only reason I haven't offered it myself yet is because I did not think that I owed them that, because as soon as my business started making money, my wife did not have to spend a single dollar out of her own pockets. I've taken great care and at this point in time, I think we can call it even. Whatever money they had contributed, it had been for their daughter so it had always been given to her directly, and I had no part to play in it, and my wife hasn't had to spend much from some personal expenses since my business started making money, so I think my debt has been repaired in that way. But even after that, if my in-laws think that I should pay them back now, I would gladly do it if that gets them off my back. Update 1. Hi, everyone. So it has been a week since that fight that I had with my in-laws and from what I have read so far, people have mixed opinions on my situation, but I have made up my mind. I'm going to return all the money. I do have an arbitrary figure and I'm doing well for myself now, so I don't want to owe them anything. Neither do I want to constantly feel like I am indebted to them forever, and I need to worship the ground that they walk on because of that. I want to be able to stand up for myself without having them throw this in my face and the only way to deal with this problem is by paying them back all the money that they claim to have supported us by contributing in our initial days. I discussed this idea with my wife, and she thinks it's good enough, since her parents have not stopped trying to brainwash her into filing for a divorce from me because they think that I have disrespected them several times, even though they have never taken into account was the fact that they have also disrespected me and even my family on several occasions. If they can't handle it when I am treating them the same way that they have treated me and my family for years, I don't think they had the right to be dishing it out in the first place either. Besides, I think I was quite polite with them in the beginning before the argument started, and they started bringing up personal stuff and going below the belt. But with them, they've always been outright against me and have never even pretended that they like me or my family. So I think the way that I behaved with them was quite reasonable after spending so many years suppressing my feelings and trying my best to be respectful of them. Now, by paying back the money, I will owe them absolutely nothing, since they have never supported me emotionally or even pretended like they accept me. And both my wife and I are really exhausted, trying to deal with the situation at hand, so we are hoping that writing them a check will solve all our problems. Usually, that's not the way I go in relationships, since I know that throwing money at something will not solve the problem, but with them, I think that's the way to go because they are literally that materialistic and selfish. I can't imagine any other parents in the world trying to ruin their own daughter's marriage, especially when a kid is involved because they think that their own ego is bigger and more important than everything else. It just speaks volumes about how much they actually care for her and how much they like to pretend that they have her best interests at heart, but the reality is that the only thing that they care about is their image, their ego, and themselves. Update 2. So earlier today, my wife spoke to her parents and told them that I was ready to write them a check and end this whole situation because it was getting exhausting to deal with, even for her. And since all of this had started because of the money, maybe writing them a check to repay them for everything that they had done for us in the past was going to fix things. But of course, that did not fix anything, and he got offended at the suggestion itself, that they could be bought out. They told my wife that this was not about the money, which is strange because, from the way that they were behaving the other day while we were fighting, it felt like it was all about the money. However, now, all of a sudden, It's about the respect that I have never shown them, which is insane because I can literally claim the same thing for them. My wife and I don't even know what they are talking about because I have always behaved very politely and civilly with them. It's they who have always had an attitude with me. I have literally never disrespected them, but they think that this one incident of me refusing to acknowledge and be thankful for the fact they had supported us a little bit, in the beginning, is equal to years and years of them taking advantage of my love for their daughter and constantly trying to instigate me or my family members by being as disrespectful as they possibly can. It is not the same thing at all, and at this point, even my wife agrees that they didn't support me as much as they're claiming they did. And on top of that, I've already said that I'm gonna pay them back so I won't owe them anything. We don't see where the problem is. If this is gonna be about respect instead of money, I really don't think that I owe anything to them, for reasons that I've already mentioned. Thankfully, they are not speaking to me at the moment, they are only interacting with their daughter, and my wife is completely on my side. They are still trying to brainwash her into filing for a divorce, and now, they started telling her that she needs to start taking our son under her wing and stuff. And I really can't imagine resuming a normal relationship with them after all of this. It's just pathetic that ruining our marriage won't be enough for them. They need my wife to file for custody because of their own ego. I mean, I think this is a reason enough for me not to respect them at all because this is the kind of treatment that I've been receiving ever since I met my wife. Update 3. It has been slightly over 2 weeks since the fight that I had with my in-laws, and for the past couple of days, my wife has not been responding to them because she thinks it's a lost battle. She had tried her best to explain to her parents why they were wrong, but they kept telling her to file for a divorce, and she got tired of trying to fix the situation all by herself. They had made it clear that they were not interested in fixing things anymore. So she had stopped replying to them, and that's why they decided to show up at our house today. I was the one who opened the door to them, and they ignored me and walked straight in and started calling for my wife. At this point, I'm not even surprised that they are acting like this after accusing me of being respectful to them. They are just hypocrites and it will always be just like this. Anyway, I didn't even say anything. I just kept waiting for my life to come out, and after a while, when she did, she immediately told her parents that she was not interested in speaking to them unless they were ready to acknowledge our side of things. They started telling her that they were only here to confront her about her behavior because she was going the same way that I did and becoming increasingly disrespectful to them as well. If I was indebted to them, so was she, and she shouldn't forget that. When her parents made that statement, she immediately lost her temper and started shouting at them, and rightfully so. She was their daughter. She hadn't asked them to do anything for her. They had just done stuff for her, and now, they did not have the right to hold it against her since it had all been done of their free will. If they had wished though, they could have easily declined and we could have still made it work without their help. It's not like that their parents don't do stuff like this for their kids, but they do it out of love, not because they want to throw this in their faces later, like my in-laws. As for gratitude, we had tried our best to be grateful to them and show them respect in spite of their ridiculous behavior with me and my family over the past years. Even then, we hadn't said anything and had quietly put up with it because we did not want to create any drama and wanted to be respectful of them so that the peace of the family was maintained. But at this point, it was impossible not to stand up against them. Now, they have to realize that they cannot constantly demand to be respected. Sometimes they have to earn it, and this is one of those times. So my wife ended up arguing with them for quite some time, but I said nothing and just stood in the corner because I did not want to interact with them at all. After some time, my wife started getting agitated, so I went to her side so I would be able to calm her down, and my in-laws started freaking out at me, blaming me for all of this. Because apparently, all of this had started because of my refusal to dissolve the prenup, and I had to correct them. I told them that this had not started because of that. This had started when they decided that they were going to treat me badly just because I was not from the same circle of rich kids that they had expected their daughter to pick from while choosing a life foreigner. That's what they were really mad about for all these years, and that's why they had always treated me badly, but I had put up with it, simply because I did not want to make a whole thing out of it. However, they couldn't get away with it all the time and they needed to realize that, which is why I refused to dissolve the prenup, because they need to know that I am not going to be a puppet for them and do as they say. Things got even more heated after that since now I was also involved, but I did not let them get to me and kept my cool. They kept shouting at me, saying horrible things and cursing me out to make me mad, but I just refused to let them get under my skin because I knew that that's exactly what they wanted, and that made them even more upset. Then, they finally realized that they wouldn't be able to get to me, and so, they told my wife that she needed to seriously choose between her family and me, and she declared that she was going to choose her family, which meant that she was going to choose her husband and her son. She told her parents to get out of her house and that they were going to be receiving the check soon, after that we would be done and dusted. Her parents were shocked because they obviously had not expected this reaction from her. They had probably just believed that they were going to get another chance because that's what usually happens. But honestly, my wife and I have had enough, and when they tried to argue after that, my wife told them that she was going to call the police and have them arrested if they did not leave immediately, and they finally left. After that, we blocked them everywhere and we are finally going to cut them out of our lives. It's going to be hard to explain to our son why he can't see his grandparents anymore, but it's fine. He has another set of grandparents who love him just as much, and maybe in the future, we will be able to reconcile. But for now, this has to be done. We had tried really hard to make things work with them, but unfortunately, they want that. They only want things to work on their terms, and that's not gonna be possible anymore. I am honestly glad that I took a stand for myself, and so did my wife. Some things had to be addressed, and we are very happy that we've dealt with the situation now.